I do wonder what an AI interpretation of day 2 at the DNC would look like.
It's hard to be humble when you're 235 pounds of twisted steel and peel with a body women love and men fear.
It's exactly what I thought it would be, as the AI is probably thinking what everyone else is too afraid to talk about, as, of course, Michelle Obama took to the stage at last night's DNC proceedings and upstaged everyone, including her husband, Barack Obama, the former president of the United States, which highlights a very interesting situation of how she is primed. She is ready for the moment to, of course, take charge, as a lot of people are expecting her to become a major political force to be reckoned with, as Politico is detailing today how she abandoned her Go High pledge. As about 8 years ago at the DNC in Philadelphia, she said, quote, "When they go low, we go high," as she went pretty low last night, lambasting and giving a tongue lashing to Donald Trump that the New York Times reported on in an op-ed detailing how, quote, Michelle Obama took him apart, as she called them misogynistic, racist, petty, and, quote, small. As it's fair to say that she has been being groomed and trained for this particular moment for quite a long time. And it shows, as of course the cadence of her speaking, the larger kind of mic drop moments that she had, highlights something that, of course, we've been warning about for a very long time here, part of independent media, as she is essentially being groomed to be the next kind of overlord, the next kind of president, the next kind of leader that will be a political force to be reckoned with. Now, whether you like what I'm saying or not, she did upstage her husband, and moments like this at the DNC do highlight the larger gravitas of this entire movement that is being carefully curated for everyone.
For years, Donald Trump did everything in his power to try to make people fear us. See, his limited, narrow view of the world made him feel threatened by the existence of two hard-working, highly educated, successful people who happen to be black. Wait. I want to know. Who's going to tell him that the job he's currently seeking might just be one of those black jobs?
Yeah, and the way that the audience ate it up, the way that they adored it, they loved it, they cheered it on every step of the way, does highlight a larger kind of cult of personality that I think is going to be important to look at, not just in this political cycle, but the future ones, 4 years ahead, 8 years ahead, potentially, where, of course, she will represent a larger kind of trump card for the establishment, as she, of course, right now is telling everyone to support Kamala Harris. But if there ever is an opportunity for her to sneak in, to get into the front line of a position of power, you bet your bottom dollar she's being primed for that exact position. As, of course, it is interesting to note here that the Obamas didn't originally endorse Kamala Harris, especially after Joe Biden dropped out of the presidential race. They do have a very kind of interesting relationship, as, of course, there's a lot of internal power jousting happening within the Democratic Party amongst the Clintons, the Obamas, the Bidens, as a lot of people read into what's happening behind the scenes as some kind of episode of Game of Thrones, as there's reports of backstabbing and behind-the-scene moves being made here that are deliberately being made for the larger acquiescence of power. Now, what's really interesting about Michelle Obama's speech, and the speech for a lot of the Democrats, is they keep complaining about the current situation that we are all in right now, as they are directly trying to blame Donald Trump for it. As, of course, it's also important to note here, Donald Trump was in political office for 4 years. The Democrats have been in office 12 out of the last 16 years, as, of course, the reign of the Obamas was for 8 years. Then, of course, Donald Trump came in, then Joe Biden came in. Overwhelmingly, the vast majority of time within the last 16 years was spent under Democratic rule that has predominantly created this absolutely awful situation that we are all dealing with. Something that, of course, is a larger reality check to a lot of Americans who understand that under Democratic leadership, the economic outlook of this country isn't so good, as of course taxes are expected to go up. The value of the dollar is expected to go down. Now, let's be fair and honest here. The economic policies of Donald Trump aren't the best, but if the Democrats are complaining about the current situation we're all in right now, they got to look at themselves to be personally responsible for it, since of course they're the ones who are the heads of government for the majority of the time that has led us to this very economically disastrous and socially divided society that, of course, we are all living in right now, that they want to blame on an outsider that was only there for a little bit and had his time interrupted through, of course, a larger health emergency that upended all of society. This, as of course, the Democratic political base also has a larger disconnect with its youth that are protesting outside of the DNC, as last night 72 people were arrested as they are predominantly demanding a ceasefire towards the Democratic administration right now that is giving everything, including extensive military support and billions of dollars for continued conflict in the Middle East that's happening right now that is extremely unpopular with many young people in urban areas that are not happy with the current situation that, of course, is unfolding there. The Democrats also, for some reason, weren't open to random Venezuelan migrants coming into the DNC, as, of course, a lot of the policies that they have instituted are okay with random Venezuelan migrants coming into the United States. Just not into their own private events, okay? America, your communities, your neighborhoods, totally cool. Their DNC? No, as of course we had a political stunt by Steve Cortez that, of course, failed at sending in a random Venezuelan migrant into the Democratic National Committee in Chicago, which was a pretty funny PR stunt. What's not funny is, of course, how the Biden-Harris administration was just forced to admit that they overstated their job creation by 818,000 jobs in 1 year. Yes, you heard that correctly. The U.S. jobs report was just revised down by 818,000 jobs overall that this administration fudged, that they lied about. As of course, the Democrats play dirty in many underhanded ways, as previously described by Nicole Shanahan, the VP pick for RFK Jr., that on a recent podcast episode was just describing the very underhanded, awful things that they had to deal with as a campaign from the Democratic political party.
We wanted a fair shot. The DNC made that impossible for us. They have banned us, shadow banned us, kept us off stages, manipulated polls, used lawfare against us, sued us in every possible state. They've even planted insiders into our campaign to disrupt it and to create actual legal issues for us. I mean, the extent by which the sabotage they've unleashed upon us, it's mind-blowing. I mean, we're still learning new ways that they have sabotaged us.
Wow. A major admission by a former Democrat, someone that, of course, supported the Democratic Party machine in more ways than just financial ones, as of course this does highlight the larger kind of shenanigans that happen behind the scenes that a lot of Americans aren't privy to just how dastardly, just how absolutely awful politicians are in their larger pursuit of power, that they will do anything and everything for. As of course, there's a lot of stakes on the line here, and the undermining efforts are probably so vast and so conspiratorial that the average American probably won't even believe it. As of course, one of the things at stake for this upcoming political season is the future of many foreign conflicts that a lot of very powerful individuals are heavily invested in. This as also today, we got extensive reports of Ukraine launching the largest ever drone attack on the capital of Russia, Moscow. This as the situation there is, of course, dangerously escalating to grand proportions, as it definitely does seem like the situation is just getting absolutely disastrous for everyone involved here, specifically the Democrats that have puppeteered, supported, and cheered on this conflict for so long, as many expect if they lose in November, that they will also lose this larger proxy conflict that is now sadly expanding in the region and hopefully won't get too out of control. Will that happen? I don't know. One thing that I do know is that you should probably sign up to LukeUnfiltered.com if you haven't done that yet. What are you doing? It's pretty easy. It's pretty simple to sign up. You click the link down in the description below right now, and you sign up for whatever you could afford. You could sign up for less than $8 a month, or $15 or $99, and then, of course, you get an incredible offer of value: 3 masterclasses, a forum, members-only t-shirt stores, seed oil cards, crap lists of items that you should be avoiding at the supermarket, plus the ability to actually call in to our live show, as we're going to be doing a very special live show tomorrow, Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, with Roger Stone in studio here with us, as we are going to be detailing the last night of the DNC live, as, of course, it unfolds. Also, as a member, you get preview access to, of course, nature hikes, hangouts, and a lot of really cool things that we do for members, as soon we are going to be doing meetups here in Miami and also in other parts of Florida. Those meetups only available for members of LukeUnfiltered.com. A great way to meet like-minded individuals, to get your hands on merchandise that is only exclusively available just for members. Be a part of this larger community right now, just by signing up to LukeUnfiltered.com. And of course, we will see you there right after this broadcast, as we are still not done with our main portion and segment of the conversation that, of course, I wanted to have with you guys, as we got some pretty interesting news about Mr. Bill Gates, an individual tied to one of the most prolific child traffickers in the world right now, as Peter Thiel just came out on a very interesting episode with Joe Rogan, detailing his kind of conspiracy theory about what he thinks happened between Bill Gates and, of course, Mr. Epstein, as he details extensively how the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation was probably started as a way to deal with the larger divorce that Bill Gates was expecting to have with his wife, Melinda Gates, as, of course, there's reports of them not signing any kind of prenups, and there could be a way for Bill Gates to, of course, save all of his money by putting it in a larger fund that Melinda wouldn't be, of course, privy to. This, as it's also important to note here, that Melinda French Gates visited Jeffrey Epstein's home with Bill Gates before, and left very, quote, unsettled. And according to many reports, this was the key issue that, of course, broke them apart and was the final nail in the coffin for their relationship, as there are alleged reports of Melinda Gates going to Bill Gates and saying, hey, stop hanging out with this, prolific child trafficker and abuser. And allegedly, Bill Gates said that he would not stop doing that, as, of course, the two not just hung out on multiple instances, but also allegedly collaborated on multiple projects and experiments together that, of course, they were working on, as they also had a very kind of shared value when it came to population control and eugenics, as Jeffrey Epstein was actually working on his own kind of eugenics operation, trying to seed multiple females with his offspring in larger kind of scientific experiments that were extremely bizarre. Epstein was also working on dolls that had surveillance capabilities. He had an office at Harvard. He was connected to the scientific community that many people report there being a bill chill in, which prevents them from criticizing, addressing, or critiquing any of the larger projects that Bill Gates, of course, is invested in, since he will pull his funding if there is any kind of scrutiny on any of his investments or works that he is currently working on. Now, is it true that Bill Gates started a fund because of Jeffrey Epstein's advice and started the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation based off the personal recommendations of Mr. Epstein? Well, that's what Peter Thiel thinks, and I think he might be on to something. As, of course, the relationship between all of these individuals definitely does deserve to be extensively looked into, as the New York Post today is also reporting from a new book that Bill Gates was the scariest person in the world, as he has allegedly terrified a lot of people within the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundations, that now is the Bill Gates Foundation, since, of course, Melinda left, since he wouldn't stop hanging out with creepers. Allegedly. As there's a new book that specifically details how he was described and likened to the French King Louis the Great, who believed in the centralization of power and authority. as he is said to have lorded over the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation with an intimidating presence that left staffers dreading his, quote, inquisition. As, of course, there's also a lot of alleged reports of a lot of females working with Bill Gates, showing how he was trying to, of course, court them in many kind of unsuccessful documented ways. As employees that were working with him also saw him as a, quote, absolute monarch, and it adds up to everything that we, of course, hear and learned about this particular man, who, of course, is a major political player and investor of politicians and scientists that many times do his bidding for him. As, of course, there's a lot of particular theories about him, theories that, of course, we cannot get into here on this particular broadcast, as, of course, he has influenced so many people with so much of his money that he's beyond critique in many of the most kind of pointed, most important ways that sadly we cannot discuss here. We can discuss it on those social media platforms. They should probably follow us on, as of course we do post a lot on a lot of other social media platforms that we're all gaining a lot of subscribers from and new followers from, except this particular platform. I wonder why. As we're bleeding subscribers, I'm looking at the subscribers now, like, reminding us people are unsubscribing from us? What? Doesn't make sense. If you're not subscribed, double check that you are subscribed. Click the notification button. We return tomorrow and, of course, 8 p.m. Eastern tomorrow for a special live broadcast. Stay tuned for that and a lot more, all here on youtube.com/wearechange. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys doing all that. Signing up to lookunfiltered.com, where we get to say anything we want, and we take that to the fullest limit that we can. Check out the latest video we have for you today. It's going to be a banger. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys doing that, and this is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on youtube.com/wearechange.